Israel Adesanya's professional kickboxing career was quite impressive with a 75-4 win-loss record with 27 knockouts. He's also currently the undefeated UFC middleweight champion with 19 wins in a row. He's obviously known for his kickboxing background and his technical skills as a striker, but if you've been following him or have watched some of his interviews, you would also know that he's a huge fan of anime. Not only does he reference them in his interviews,
these are not fake hand signs. These are for weeaboos, all the anime nerds. Like, you guys don't understand.
but he also performed a walkout with anime-inspired moves and talked about how he feels empowered by those characters.
I draw strength from characters that aren't even real, quote unquote, because they're animated, but they're real to me. For me, it's all about what's in here and what you feel in here. And I can relate to a lot of those guys more than I can to some of the great leaders of our time. You see me try some that I've seen in cartoons or video games, and I'll pull it out in the octagon because I don't know, I can do it. Yeah, I blurred the lines between reality and fantasy. I am that line, the last stylebender.
Which led me to do some research and figure out exactly which characters inspired him. So today I'm going to go over 3 anime characters that have empowered the last stylebender. Note that I've excluded characters from the Nickelodeon show The Avatar, since that one is already known to most and could be argued that it is not considered an anime. Either way, let's get started. Number 1, Rock Lee. Rock Lee is the epitome of hard work beats talent. He's passionate, energetic, and really hardworking. But it's really his weaknesses and shortcomings that make him shine as a character. Unlike other shinobi, he lacks the skills necessary to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, so because of that, he ends up having to compensate his fighting skills with taijutsu, the art of hand-to-hand combat. He basically symbolizes how perseverance and hard work can make up for a lack of natural talent. Kishimoto, the author of Naruto, had initially written Rock Lee to symbolize human weakness, and this really is what makes him so likable as a character. We all have our shortcomings that we want to overcome in our life, and because of that, we see ourselves in him. Watching him succeed and conquer his weaknesses inspires us to do the same, and we can't help but root for this goofy-looking underdog. It's not surprising that he ranks really high in a lot of Naruto characters' popularity polls. I really wish Kishimoto would have written more about Rock Lee, but I'm glad that at least he was in one of the most iconic anime fights of the series when he fought Gaara. This fight was so captivating, and it was actually this specific fight that got Adesanya hooked to Naruto.
So this is from this anime. The first fight I watched in this, can you Google this? Pull it up, Jamie. What is it? Rock Lee versus Gaara, Gaara. This is episode 46 of Naruto. And it was the first fight I ever watched that got me into the series.
He even did the Rock Lee pose during his fight against Anderson Silva and got someone to Photoshop his picture to look like those characters. There's no doubt that Rock Lee has inspired Israel Adesanya's mindset as a fighter, and with his fight coming up against Paulo Costa, I'm rooting for him even more, as Paulo is one of those fighters that is just genetically gifted. I mean, look at this guy. So I'm not saying that Paulo didn't work hard to get to where he's at, but he's definitely a genetic specimen. So this ends up being the perfect narrative of natural talent versus hard work, nature versus nurture. So let's just hope that this will be as iconic as Rock Lee versus Gaara. Number 2, Naruto Uzumaki. Just like Rock Lee, Naruto embodies passion, optimism, and perseverance. However, rather than a focus on overcoming his flaws, Naruto's plot revolves around his difficult upbringing and how he uses his willpower to make good out of it. Growing up as an orphan and as the vessel of the nine-tailed beast, Naruto was bullied a lot as a child. And since Adesanya was also bullied as a kid during his high school years, it is not surprising that he was inspired by this character.
Can't even make this a long story short. It's a long story, but he's a kid who inspires me just based on the way he was brought up and his willpower. His willpower really inspired me, and his morals that he has for his friends and his family and his code.
From this hostile upbringing, Naruto developed a very strong desire for acknowledgement. The series in its entirety is dedicated to this, his journey on becoming the Hokage, the epitome of acknowledgement and respect from everyone in the village. As you could have guessed, he successfully achieves his dream of becoming Hokage in the end of the anime. But more important than this achievement, his character symbolizes weakness turned into strength. His rough childhood led to his desire for acknowledgement, and this desire led to his ambition. Another symbol of this similar quote-unquote blessing in disguise is Kurama. Kurama is the nine-tailed beast inside Naruto, and he was the reason why Naruto was hated as a kid and shunned by his village. But it ended up being a source of power when he grew up. You could also say the same for Adesanya, as he took up combat sport because of childhood bullying.
And then I remember that Monday, the next week at school, so there was K block, this is Roto Intermediate, K block, and I think B block or J block or something. And this was after interval. He kind of walked up to me. It was shorter than me as well, and I was a small kid. But it was like a Napoleon syndrome or whatever. He just came up to me and like, what a black boy, and just pushed me. And I might have been having a bad day. And I remember I just lost it, and I snapped, and I threw him towards K block, and I just wailed on him, and I was crying the whole time. And I threw him towards B block, and I just wailed on him till he kind of just like squatted down and just, I remember just wailing on him, and I just broke away, and everyone was like, oh, bro, he's tough ass, this and that. And I was like, leave me alone. And I just ran away and went to go hide for like 30 minutes or so till the teacher found me. And yeah, a lot of that happened through most of high school as well. And that's kind of, I guess, my desire to want to defend myself came from, was I hated feeling vulnerable in any situation. And I hated feeling like I was helpless, like I couldn't do anything.
He even got a tattoo of the seal on his stomach and bought a car of the same color to represent it. So there's no doubt that he feels deeply inspired by it. Number 3, Death Note. This last one is not about a specific character, but more about the concept behind Death Note. For those that haven't watched the anime Death Note, it is about a mysterious notebook that grants its user the supernatural ability to kill anyone whose name is written in its pages. You can see Israel writing something before his fight against Robert Whittaker, and after the fight, he explained what he was actually doing.
What did you write in your book when Bruce Buffer was introducing you?
When you talk about anime, you know, you ever heard about an anime called Death Note? Anyone? Hands up? Yeah, so he's the Grim Reaper, right? I have a Shinigami with me, and I just had to write his name because I knew, I was like, he's not gonna last. I just wrote his name in the Death Note, and those who knows the rules of the Death Note, they know there's a certain time frame that after your name's written in the Death Note, the Shinigami will get you. So yeah, it is what it is, and it happened as it's supposed to be.
Most people probably just saw this as typical stylebender antics, or him messing around before his fight. But Adesanya actually believes in these things.
And also for me, it was also just a way of expressing my truest form. It gave me power. Like the little, hints to the Naruto, the weebs, doing all my stuff, the spirit bomb. When I put my hand up there and all my team behind me put their hand up, I felt I did this. Because I took the spirit. And I told some of my friends as well, when you see my hand go up, I don't care where you are in the world, where you're watching it, put your hand up. I told them, I was like, put your hand up. I want to feel you. So when I did that, people think it's all fun and games. I'm crazy. I believe this shit.
Yeah.
And the mind does not know what's the difference between reality and fantasy sometimes. So it really empowers me. And I walked out there and I was just like, I was feeling myself, man.
If you find that ridiculous, well, you're not the only one, because even John Jones made fun of him for it. However, this is actually a real psychological theory called the cognitive mediational theory. It was proposed by American psychologist Richard Lazarus, who often worked on topics like gratitude and hope. And he discovered that people who quote-unquote denied their situation and told themselves that everything would work out for the best would typically do better than those having a more realistic approach. In other words, Israel may look ridiculous collecting chakra and writing in his death note before his fight, but if he sincerely believes in those things as he said he was, he may truly feel empowered by them. Similar to how negative self-talk can cause doubt and undermine your confidence, and how positive self-talk can do the opposite. Obviously, all those psychological theories can only take you so far in a professional MMA fight, so please don't simply rely on that. Even though Adesanya gets made fun of for his anime antics and being a weeaboo, if it truly works for him and makes him stronger, who are we to judge? In any case, these were the 3 anime inspirations that I found for The Last Stylebender. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to click that like button and subscribe for more similar content. That's it for me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.